He came all the way from California to be here to see all of you. So thank you, Elon.
You're most welcome. I heard about the formation of the Peace Summit, and I was like, is that PIEC? Little piece of Greenland, a little piece of Venezuela.
we got one.
All we want is peace.
Okay, I'm going to, as I said, I'm a pretty proud CEO of BlackRock since we went public. The compounding return of BlackRock to our shareholders was 21%. Since Elon took Tesla public, his compounded return is 43%. This is just another advertisement for everybody, especially for Europeans. This is why more citizens should be investing with growth, investing with your countries. Imagine if a lot of pension funds invested with Elon when Tesla went public, and how much we return with all the pension funds that invested side by side with Elon and the growth. So a spectacular return. There's very few companies. Well, I don't think there's any other company as large as Tesla today that has that compounded return. So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a good measurement.
Well, we have an incredible team at Tesla, and that's the reason.
So I want to get into the dirt, the meaningful component about technology, the possibilities. I want to talk about AI and robotics, energy, space, and the progress ultimately coming down to engineering discipline, scale, execution. And few people, if not anyone, has the experience and the fortitude to confront these issues head on. Not just the ideas, but the execution across so many different technologies, Elon. And that's why I thought it was important for us to have this dialogue here in Davos. So you're presently building on AI, on robotics, on space, on energy, all at the same time. When you look across those efforts, what do they have in common from an engineering standpoint?
Well, they're all very difficult technology challenges, but the overall goal of my companies is to maximize the future of civilization, like basically maximize the probability that civilization has a great future, and to expand consciousness beyond Earth. So if you take SpaceX, for example, SpaceX is about advancing rocket technology to the point where we can extend life and consciousness beyond Earth to the moon, to Mars, eventually to other star systems. And I think we should always view consciousness, life as we know it, as precarious and delicate, because to the best of our knowledge, we don't know of life anywhere else. I'm often asked, are there aliens among us? And I'll say that I am one, but
or you're from the future.
They don't believe me.
Okay.
But I think if anyone would know if there are aliens among us, it would be me. We have 9,000 satellites up there, and not once have we had to maneuver around an alien spaceship. So I'm like, I don't know. Bottom line is, I think we need to assume that life and consciousness is extremely rare, and it might only be us. And if that's the case, then we need to do everything possible to ensure that the light of consciousness is not extinguished, because we're effectively, the way I view it is, the image in my mind is of a tiny candle in a vast darkness, a tiny candle of consciousness that could easily go out. And that's why it's important to make life multiplanetary, such that if there is a natural disaster or a man-made disaster on Earth, that consciousness continues. That's the purpose of SpaceX. Tesla is obviously about sustainable technology, and also at this point, we've sort of added to our mission sustainable abundance. So with robotics and AI, this is really the path to abundance for all. If you say, people often talk about solving global poverty, or essentially how do we give everyone a very high standard of living? I think the only way to do this is AI and robotics, which doesn't mean that it is without its issues. I mean, we need to be very careful with AI. We need to be very careful with robotics. We don't want to find ourselves in a James Cameron movie, Terminator. he's great movies, love his movies, but we don't want to be in Terminator, obviously. But if you have ubiquitous AI that is essentially free or close to it, and ubiquitous robotics, then you will have an explosion in the global economy, an expansion in the global economy that is truly beyond all precedent.
Elon, can that expansion be broad?
Yes.
Or is it narrow? And how can that be created? How can it broaden the global economy?
Yeah, the way to think of it is that if you have a large number of humanoid robots, the economic output is the average productivity per robot times the number of robots.
Right.
And actually, my prediction is in the benign scenario of the future that the robots will actually make so many robots in AI that they will actually saturate all human needs. Meaning you won't be able to even think of something to ask the robot for at a certain point. Like there will be such an abundance of goods and services because my prediction is that there'll be more robots than people. So,
But how do you then have human purpose in that scenario?
yeah, I mean, nothing's perfect, but I mean, it is a necessary. Like you can't have both. You can't have work that has to be done and amazing abundance for all. Because if it's work that has to be done, then you and only some people can do it, then you can't have abundance.
Then
for
it's
all.
narrow.
It's narrow,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but if you have billions of humanoid robots, and I think there will be, I think everyone on Earth is going to have one and going to want one, because who wouldn't want a robot to, assuming it's very safe, watch over your kids, take care of your pet. If you have elderly parents, a lot of friends of mine said they have elderly parents. It's very difficult to take care of them.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, and there just aren't enough people to take care of not enough young people to take care of the old people.
Right.
So if you had a robot that could take care of and protect an elderly parent, I think that would be great. That would be an amazing thing to have. And I think we will have those things. So overall, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we're headed for a future of amazing abundance, which is very cool. And definitely, we are in the most interesting time in history. I think there's a more interesting time in history. So.
Can you and I reverse aging in this new history, or are we going to see it?
I haven't put much time into the aging stuff. I do think it is a very solvable problem. Like you can. I think when we figure out what causes aging, I think we'll find it's incredibly obvious. It's not a subtle thing. The reason I say it's not a subtle thing is because all the cells in your body, with some pretty much age at the same rate.
Good.
I've never seen someone with an old left arm and a young right arm ever in my life. So why is that? That means that there must be a clock, a synchronizing clock,
Right.
that is synchronizing across 35 trillion cells in your body. There is some benefit to death, by the way. It's like there's a reason why we don't actually have a longer lifespan, because if people do live forever for a very long time, I think there's some risk of an ossification of society, of things just getting kind of locked in place, it just may become stultifying, just not lack vibrancy. But that said, do I think we'll figure out ways to extend life and maybe even reverse aging? I think that's highly likely.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So in the future that you talk about, the AI models, autonomous machines, rockets, depends on massive increases in compute, massive increases in energy, expensive energy, manufacturing scale. What are the bottlenecks to get there? And once again, with all that expenditures, again, how can we make sure that it's broad and not narrow?
I just think the natural thing is it's going to be very broad because AI companies will seek as many customers as they possibly can, and the cost of AI is already very low and it's plummeting every year. I mean, the cost of AI is almost meaningfully changing on a month-to-month basis.
There's open models now everywhere. Yeah.
Yes, there's open models. And the open models only lag, they're maybe a year behind the sort of closed models. So I think the AI companies will seek as many customers as possible, which means they'll provide AI to the world.
But the cost of getting to there, the compute, the chips, the fab, the powering, that to me, what are the those are huge.
The limiting factor. Yeah, I think the limiting factor for AI deployment is fundamentally electrical power.
It's just right. It's energy.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing the rate of AI chip production increase exponentially, but the rate of electricity being brought online is
3%, 4% a year max.
Yeah, it's clear that we're very soon, maybe even later this year, we'll be producing more chips than we can turn on. Except for China. China's growth in electricity is tremendous.
They're building 100 gigawatts of nuclear as we speak.
Actually, solar is the biggest thing in China. So China's I believe China's production capacity on solar is 1,500 gigawatts a year, and they're deploying over 1,000 gigawatts a year of solar. Now, for continuous solar load, you divide that by roughly, I don't know, 4 or 5. Call it that's around 250 gigawatts of steady state power paired with batteries. And that's a very big number. That's half of the average power usage in the US.
Right.
So US power usage on average is 500 gigawatts. China, just in solar, just in solar like that, can provide steady state power. And batteries can do half of the US electricity output per year just with solar. Solar is by far the biggest source of energy. And actually, when you look beyond, or even on Earth, but certainly beyond Earth, the sun rounds up to 100% of all energy. This is an important thing to consider. So the sun is 99.8% of the mass of the solar system. Jupiter is about 0.1%, and everything else is miscellaneous. Now, even if you were to burn Jupiter in a thermonuclear reactor, the amount of energy produced by the sun would still round up to 100% because Jupiter is only 0.1%. If you teleported 3 more Jupiters into our solar system and burnt 3 more Jupiters and everything else in the solar system, the sun's energy would still round up to 100%. Mm-hmm. So it's really all about the sun. And that's why one of the things we'll be doing with SpaceX within a few years is launching solar-powered AI satellites.
Right.
Because the space is really the source of immense power, and then you don't need to take up any room on Earth. There's so much room in space, and you can scale to enormous. You can scale to, I think, ultimately hundreds of terawatts a year.
You and I have had these conversations before, but why don't you tell the audience what would it take for the United States, and what type of geography would it take to have that solar field to electrify the United States? And then let me ask a question, why aren't we doing it? Yeah,
so, I mean, I guess a rough way to think about it is 100 miles by 100 miles, we'll call it 160 kilometers by 160 kilometers of solar is enough to power the entire United States. So the 100 mile by 100 mile area is, I mean, you could take basically a small corner of Utah, Nevada, New Mexico. Obviously, you wouldn't want it all in one place, but it's a very small percentage of the area of the U.S. to generate all of the electricity that the U.S. uses. And the same is true, actually, I mean, for Europe. You could take relatively unpopulated areas of, say, Spain and Sicily and generate all of the electricity power that Europe needs.
So why don't you think that there's a movement towards that here and in the United States?
Well, there is.
As it is in China.
Well, unfortunately, in the U.S., the tariff barriers for solar are extremely high, and that makes the economics of deploying solar so artificially high because China makes almost all the solar, what
would it take for Europe or the U.S. to build it commercially if it's that scale?
Yeah, I think. Well, I can tell you what we're going to do. SpaceX and Tesla is we're building up large-scale solar. Right. So the SpaceX and Tesla teams both separately are working to build to 100 gigawatts a year of solar power in the U.S. of manufactured solar power, and that'll probably take us done in about 3 years or something. But these are pretty big numbers, mm-hmm. I'd encourage others to do the same. We obviously don't control the U.S. Tariff policy, mm-hmm. But for other countries, I would recommend that China makes solar cells that are incredibly low cost, and I think it would be worth doing large-scale solar.
So I know you're going to be having a couple of big announcements on robotics and what it can do. I mean, when I went to the factory, you showed me those robots.
Yeah.
How quickly, you talked about the billions of robots, but how quickly can they be deployed in a manufacturing setting? How quickly can they be utilized and be functional and create that abundance that you talked about?
Well, humanoid robotics will advance very quickly. I think we do have some of the Tesla Optimus robots doing simple tasks in the factory. Except probably later this year. By the end of this year, I think they'll be doing more complex tasks, but still deployed in an industrial environment. And probably sometime next year, I'd say that by the end of next year, I think would be selling humanoid robots to the public. That's when we are confident that it's very high reliability, very high safety, and the range of functionality is also very high. You can basically ask it to do anything you'd like.
You're already seeing that in Tesla cars, the software changes that you're doing. And what is it, every quarter now, a software change that upgrades the ability of the robot within the car?
Yes, the Tesla Full Self-Driving software, we update it sometimes once a week. Recently, some of the insurance companies have said that it is actually so safe, when Tesla Full Self-Driving is so safe that they're offering customers half-price insurance if they use Tesla Full Self-Driving in the car.
And that can be monitored by the insurance company? Is that part of the agreement then?
Yeah. I think self-driving cars is essentially a solved problem at this point.
Right.
And Tesla's rolled out a sort of robotaxi service in a few cities, and
Right.
will I think be very, very widespread by the end of this year within the US. And then we hope to get supervised full self-driving approval in Europe, hopefully next month.
Really that quickly?
Yeah, and then maybe a similar timing for China, hopefully.
I want to move to space because historically space is very capital intensive. It historically been done by governments. Obviously SpaceX changed the whole model. But we've seen it slow to scale, and now I'm starting to see it ramping up in what you're doing and other things. Talk to us about the automation and AI, how it's changing the economics in building and preparing for us in operating in space.
Sure. Well, the key breakthrough the major breakthrough that SpaceX is hoping to achieve this year is full reusability. So no one has ever achieved full reusability of a rocket, which is very important for the cost of access to space. We've achieved partial reusability with Falcon 9 by landing the boost stage. We've now landed the boost stage over 500 times. But we have to throw away the upper stage. The upper stage sort of burns up on reentry for Falcon 9. So, and the cost of that is equivalent to a small to medium-sized jet. So, but with Starship, which is a giant rocket, it's the largest flying machine ever made.
That's a rocket that you're using for the idea of going to Mars, right?
Yeah, Mars and the Moon, as well as for high-volume satellite stuff. So Starship, hopefully this year we should prove full reusability for Starship, which will be a profound invention because the cost of access to space will drop by a factor of 100 when you achieve full reusability.
Right.
It's the same sort of economic difference that you would expect between, say, a reusable aircraft and a non-reusable aircraft. Like if you have to throw your aircraft away after every flight, that would be a very expensive flight. But if you only have to refuel, then it's the cost of the fuel. And so that's really the fundamental breakthrough that gets the cost of access to space, we think, below the cost of freight on aircraft. So, under $100 a pound type of thing usually. So it makes putting large satellites into space very low, very cheap. And then when you have solar in space, you get 5 times more effectiveness, maybe even more than that, than solar on the ground, because it's always sunny.
It's cold.
It's always sunny, so you don't have a day-night cycle or seasonality or weather, and you get about 30% more power in space because you don't have atmospheric attenuation of the power.
Right.
The net effect is solar is 5 times more. Any given solar panel will do 5 times more energy in space than on the ground.
Is there any capacity in doing that and taking that power and bringing it back to Earth? Is there any way of doing that, or you're just taking that power and utilizing it for the needs, like building AI data centers in space?
I think the case is it's a no-brainer for building solar-powered AI data centers in space, because as I mentioned, it's also very cold in space. If you're in the shadow, then it's very cold in space, just 3 degrees Kelvin. So you just have solar panels facing the sun, and then a radiator that's pointed away from the sun, so it has no sun incidence, and then it's just cooling. It's a very efficient cooling system. So net effect is that the lowest cost place to put AI will be space, and that'll be true within 2 years, maybe 3 at the latest.
Wow. So looking 10 or 20 years out, how would you describe success with AI or space technology, and where do you see it? Are you more certain what's going to happen in the next 3 years or 5 or 10?
I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but the rate at which AI is progressing, I think we might have AI that is smarter than any human by the end of this year. And I would say no later than next year.
Wow.
And then probably by 2030 or 2031, call it 5 years from now, AI will be smarter than all of humanity collectively.
We only have a number of minutes left, but I want to humanize you for a second. So there's no speculation that you're
about peace.
Right. I want to. I mean, I would frame this question by you're the most successful entrepreneur, industrialist in the 21st century, maybe beyond. I want to really get this. What inspired you? Who's inspired you? What was the foundation of your curiosity? And importantly, was there an aha moment, an epiphany at any time in your life and career?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I read a lot of science fiction, sci-fi, fantasy books.
Yeah, we talked about
and comic books, and I always liked technology. I didn't expect to be where I am today. That seems incredibly implausible. But yeah, I was inspired by reading about books about the future, about science fiction, and I guess I want to make science fiction not fiction forever. At some point, turn science fiction to science fact. We want to have like Starfleet. And Star Trek, really, for real, like where we actually have giant spaceships traveling through space, going to other planets, traveling to other star systems.
I'm just interested if I could be beamed up to go back to New York. I'd like to just be beamed back to New York instead of flying.
Yeah.
Talk about Star Trek.
No, I guess my essential, what I would call the philosophy of curiosity. I'd like to understand the meaning of life. Is the standard model of physics correct regarding the beginning of life, beginning of existence, and the end of the universe? What questions do we not know to ask that we should ask? And AI will help us with these things. So I'm just trying to understand how do we get here? What's going on? What's real? Are there aliens? Maybe there are. And if we've got spaceships that are traveling to other star systems, we may encounter aliens, or we may find many long dead alien civilizations. But I just want to know what's going on. I'm curious about the universe, and that's my philosophy.
Do you see yourself ever going to Mars in your lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like
That's a long commitment.
I've been asked.
Wasn't that 3 years each way?
It's 6 months.
6 months. That's all it is.
Yeah, 6 months, but the planets only align every 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been asked a few times like, do I want to die on Mars? And I'm like, yes, but just not on impact.
That's a good answer. Anyway, we're out of time. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. I mean, there's so many myths around Elon Musk. I could tell you he's a great friend, and I constantly learn so much from him. And I'm totally inspired by what he has done. I've been inspired who he is, and I'm totally inspired by his vision of the future. And I don't think it's such a bad future. And I agree with his optimism. So Elon, thank you. Any last words?
Well, I think my last word.
There is still a long way to go because there are a lot of institutions that you need to bring on chain. And I mean, frankly, Canton is one of the only ways that we've seen of actually being able to convince these guys that it's safe to move on chain.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CyberX video breakdown. We are entering into an era of real-world utility and not digital asset speculation and hype. What caught my attention and pushed me to dig deeper in today's video breakdown wasn't price, it was infrastructure. Quiet pilots, regulated settlement, 24/7 tokenized deposits. And so in today's video breakdown, I want to show you what is actually being built behind the scenes on the Canton network and why institutions and organizations like the DTCC and Digital Asset matter, and what even led me to doing this research in the first place. If you care about where the financial system is going, not narratives, then stay with me, because today's video breakdown is going to be an excessively deep dive on everything that's happening behind the scenes and why I'm even doing this research. Now, right off the bat, the examples, the influencers, comments, and posts that we might cover in today's video breakdown, I need you guys to know that this is a research-based video. This is not I'm attacking any other blockchain or saying that one of them is going to rule and the other ones aren't. I'm just showing you guys information that is readily available to anybody that wants to go and find it. And what made me question certain narratives and even things that I'm doing in my own personal portfolio. Now, another thing that I need to say right off the bat, because I'm going to be comparing and bringing up some Ripple commentary, XRP is still personally my biggest investment. It is my biggest bag. It is the biggest investment in my crypto portfolio, considering that I got into XRP when it was sub 27, in even some cases sub 11 cents. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So I needed that to be said right off the bat, because a lot of people will say, oh, you're doing research on Canton now and this, and that. Anybody that has been a follower of CyberX knows that we have been covering Ripple and XRP since 2016, 2017 era. The same feeling that I'm getting about Canton Network is the same feeling that I got back in the early days when I discovered XRP back in 2016. And so now showing you guys why I'm even and started doing this research on Canton. Now, I started doing this research on Canton. There's timestamps in our private CyberX Discord from 2023 where I first started digging into Canton Network. But let me actually show you guys what solidified that the research that I'm doing was in the right place. And it actually starts with Ripple themselves. Where just the other day, I believe this was January 15th, 2026, Ripple made an announcement. You can see that here. Today, our partners at BNY Global launched tokenized deposit services for institutional clients, bringing the promise of digital assets directly into the banking system, with Ripple Prime as an early adopter of this technology. Noel Kimmel, the president of Ripple Prime, even said, as more traditional financial institutions move into digital native services in 2026, BNY is staying ahead of the curve, bringing digital assets directly into the banking system. We are proud to expand our long-standing strategic collaboration now as an early adopter of BNY's tokenized deposit services through its digital assets platform. So Ripple is going to be utilizing and adopting this digital asset platform from BNY Mellon. And in this entire elaborate post, I showed you guys how this has everything to do with Canton Network. As you guys can see, this is directly from a document from BNY themselves. And it goes on to say right here in the document how it works. Phase 1, clients and fund companies will interact with Liquidity Direct in the manner that they do today to also invest in and or redeem tokenized share classes via Liquidity Direct, which will have mirrored copies on the blockchain via the GSDAP, or Goldman Sachs Digital Asset Platform. Liquidity Direct's blockchain connectivity layer, managed by BNY's digital asset platform, consumes mirrored information from Liquidity Direct and provides that through BNY DAP onto a blockchain platform that can be internal or from a third party. In phase 1, this will be a private permission third-party blockchain platform, i.e. the GSDAP. And we know, again, in this post that I shared for you guys, the GSDAP runs directly on Canton Network. Here again, this is directly from BNY, and it says, BNY will employ blockchain technology developed by Goldman Sachs to maintain a record of customers' ownership of select money market funds. This combined solution marks the first time in the US that fund managers, I repeat again, the first time in the US that fund managers have enabled subscriptions for shares of their money market fund via BNY's Liquidity Direct and digital asset platforms, the corresponding value of which will be represented through mirrored recognized tokenization utilizing GSDAP. Integration with BNY's digital asset platform mirrors tokens of the money market fund shares, and they are created on GSDAP, an award-winning technology platform developed by Goldman Sachs, which leverages solutions developed by Digital Asset. And this is coming directly from GoldmanSachs.com. If you come over here, it specifically says Goldman Sachs Digital Asset Platform natively runs on the Canton Network. So what made me start questioning some narratives is that Ripple, again, is choosing to use BNY's Digital Asset Platform. They're an early adopter. And BNY's Digital Asset Platform, I just showed you guys, mirrors the GSDAP, and the GSDAP runs on Canton Network. So collectively speaking, Ripple chose to adopt technology that underlies on the Canton Network, which made me start questioning things. Not questioning things in a negative way, but really just starting to dig a little bit deeper to really get to the bottom of infrastructure. Again, this isn't infrastructure research. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't believe in Ripple and anything they're doing. I still think that they're a phenomenal company and organization, and I'm still stacking more XRP because I believe in the long-term valuation of the digital asset itself and the longevity of Ripple, the company and organization, and what they're doing in this space. This is not a comparison video. I'm just showing you guys to start off this research video why I even started questioning things, because Ripple themselves are literally choosing to be early adopters of technology that sits on Canton. Can't ignore that. It's in the research. It's in the infrastructure. Next, we come over here. Yellow Card. If you guys don't know about this organization, Yellow Card is the largest and first licensed stablecoin payments orchestrator, empowering businesses across emerging markets with international payments, treasury management, and USD liquidity. If you come to their about, you click on their profile and you go directly to their website. So let's go to their website. The operating system for modern money movement. They are backed by Visa. They're backed by PayPal. They're backed by Western Union. They also have 106 plus tier 1 banking and liquidity partners. They're supported in 35 plus different countries and jurisdictions, and they allow for over 50 plus payment currencies. I'd go outright to say that this is a pretty important organization. It's not just some rando on the internet. So when I heard this directly from the CEO himself, this aligned with my speculation, because he specifically says in this podcast.
But I think that people oversimplify the concept of bringing FX on chain. And there have been a number of companies, even now, there's a number of companies that are trying to bring FX on chain, which sounds great, right? And, you can raise a bunch of money and, everybody loves the idea of bringing FX on chain. But the actual process of doing that involves working with a ton of institutions in a ton of countries that are not going to do this on public blockchains, and they're not going to do it, with assets that they don't have some semblance of control over, right? And I think, this is where a lot of what, Eric and Canton, really helps with, and a lot of where this comes in is as you think about, institutions in these countries that need to be on chain for on-chain FX to truly happen, right? The banks, the telcos, the large corporates, et cetera. Look, we had a call with the C-suite of a bank, one of the largest banks, in emerging markets today. These guys are not going to use a chain that they don't have control over the consensus. They don't have control over the ledger. They don't have control over any of it. Why would they, right? They're a massive bank. Why would they give up that control? And so I think, you need a system where all of these banks have interoperability, but also have control, right? And that's, to me, that's really the magic of what, Canton has built, and why, why I think that like the solution that these guys are working on is really the only way to bring FX on chain, right? I don't think you can actually just issue stable coins for all these different currencies the way that, Tether and Circle have. I think the US dollar is a very unique currency in global trade. These other currencies are going to be controlled by banks. These stable coins are going to be controlled by banks. They're going to be controlled by, the financial institutions in each of these countries. And they're going to want, a certain level of control to feel comfortable actually putting this stuff on chain and making this stuff available. And so I think, as you think about FX on chain, there is still a long way to go, because there are a lot of institutions that you need to bring on chain. And I think, frankly, Canton is, one of the only ways that we've seen of actually being able to convince these guys that it's safe to move on chain.
So a lot to unpack there. But again, this is a gentleman, the CEO organization is Chris Maurice of this company called Yellow Card, backed by Visa, PayPal, Western Union, Dunes, Bybit, right? And he just said to you guys, that video breakdown, mind you, okay, look at how many views this has. This just goes to show the lack of research in this space. 597 views. This was uploaded 2 days ago. And he said, Canton is the only network that is actually making these large institutions comfortable moving on chain. He specifically said he had a conversation over the phone with a large bank and institution, and they confirmed that they're not going to be utilizing public blockchains, right? I'm not saying that he's right or wrong. I'm just showing you guys what led me down the rabbit hole on digging deeper into the infrastructure of Canton, okay? Which is why I'm creating this particular video breakdown. Now, coming over here to one of Smoke's posts. Shout out to Smoke. I think he's a phenomenal documented researcher in this space. 99.999% of the information that he posts out on the internet is just documented research. And I think the space needs more people like Smoke, where they just do documented research. But there comes a point in time where we really have to question the documents and what's being put out and the actual people and organizations and blockchains that are being chosen by the organizations like the DTCC being mentioned, because the DTCC is not using Ripple or XRPL. They are using Canton. And unfortunately, it's a fact that a lot of people have to come to terms with by just doing the research. So Smoke posted this document. And again, this has nothing to do with Smoke's post in particular. It has everything to do with the infrastructure. That's my focus here. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because somebody actually commented on Smoke's post down here and asked the question. So I'm kind of answering that. So Smoke posted this, DTCC plus Ripple. No real understanding on what he meant by this, but I'll show you guys the document. Here it is right here. And right under that, he tagged the DTCC's post from 22 hours ago stating, tokenization is delivering real outcomes, faster settlement, enhanced liquidity, 24/7 markets. Tokenization is accelerating. Are you ready? Then right down here, somebody commented anything concrete and said, the DTCC is running on the Canton network. Can you explain where Ripple fits in? More importantly, XRP, as I am a holder. Thank you. Well, in this tokenization context with the DTCC right now, in the current form, Ripple and XRP do not fit in anywhere, at least not in the underlying research that anybody can go out and do. Now, that's not to say that in the future they couldn't, because it is very possible they could, but right now they are not. And I'm going to, again, show you guys direct confirmation from the DTCC that is to be the case. So putting all speculative, nonsensical BS aside and just sticking to the facts and the research and the documents directly from the DTCC themselves and the research that they've recently put out, let's get into this. So here's the document that Smoke shared. And again, I'm not discrediting Smoke. I'm not saying that he's wrong. And I'm not saying that Ripple and XRP aren't going to have anything to do with the DTCC in the future, because maybe they will, but right now they do not. So here's that document that Smoke put out. This is honestly just an opinion piece. If I'm being completely honest. It's the FinTech Times, the World FinTech newspaper. And if you come down here, this was a little tiny segment written by this gentleman here, the Director of Business Development at Epiphany. No idea what that is. Thomas Trepiner. And here's where it goes on to say, just as the DTCC provides settlement for U.S. equities, for example, blockchain-based settlement networks such as Ripple, Roxy, and Copper have the potential to provide near-instant settlement for global fiat currencies and digital assets. So it does say that they have the potential, but let's actually look at the underlying infrastructure and who's being chosen right now. And again, remember, Ripple chose BNY's tokenization platform, which I showed you guys actually runs on the Canton network, as the underlying infrastructure provider for that, the technology provider for that. So let's continue to dive a little bit deeper. And let me show you guys how the DTCC is, in fact, in bed big time with Canton network. We're going to start here. Most of you guys have probably never even heard of the organizations in which I'm going to share with you guys today. And if that's the case, then again, head over to cyberxtrading.com, tap into our Discord and our research channel, where all of this information exists via the CyberX researchers that share this information on a consistent and updated basis. So Catalyst Blockchain Manager. This is Intellect EU's blockchain manager platform. Infrastructure management for enterprise-ready blockchain applications. For those of you guys who have never heard about this, let's head over to Intellect EU's YouTube channel and run a quick video so you guys have a gist of what the Catalyst Blockchain Manager actually is.
Many organizations realize the benefits of using blockchain technology, but struggle with the very complex and manual processes of setup, maintenance, and management. That's why we built the Catalyst blockchain platform, enabling you to easily deploy and manage blockchain networks on any infrastructure, regardless of the use case. Set up your blockchain network through quick and automated processes. No more technical burden and manual scripting. Your developers can now focus on creating value by building next-generation business applications, not maintaining existing ones. Managing your enterprise blockchain network has never been easier. This way, you can innovate faster and continue to disrupt your industry. Easily set up, manage, and maintain your blockchain applications on any infrastructure. Our platform is underpinned by enterprise-grade security, is reliable, and has guaranteed uptime. On top of that, we provide an intuitive user interface and high-quality support plans.
So you guys have a technical understanding of what Catalyst blockchain is. Now, if we go over to the Catalyst blockchain manager LinkedIn profile, I'm just going to start reading thoroughly through documented information. Again, all available to anybody that seeks to find it. Well, just to show you all how serious this is, it says DORA in the EU, and this is posted from 1 week ago. The FDIC third-party guidance in the US and now digital asset standards are going live in Asia as Hong Kong implements the Basel framework for bank crypto asset exposure from January 1st, 2026. The regulator is no longer just asking, is your node up? If you guys remember, we had Sandy Call from Franklin Templeton on a panel discussion go on to mention how these institutions are going to need to run node operations.
Fortunate branding exercises ever was when we started calling them cryptocurrencies, because it created this expectation that somehow they're a currency and they can be spent on things. And you need to understand that it's a way of buying block space on the ledger. That's really the purpose. And so you need to hold these cryptocurrencies in your treasury if you're going to be recording trades on a ledger. And if you're holding these assets in your treasury, you need to figure out what you need to do to hedge against them. And that's when you need to figure out that you need to do node operations. So
finishing this off, it says they are auditing for governance. Who accessed which private key under what policy, and can you prove it with a temper evident log? On Canton network, roles, visibility, and segregation are enforced at the protocol level. And with Catalyst Blockchain Manager, you get the controls, logs, and governance to show that every tokenized deposit lives inside clear, monitorable rails, DORA, Basel, and beyond, run infrastructure that passes the audit. So coming over here to the catalystintellect.com website, I want you guys to focus on these two press room releases. First, we're going to focus on this one, the DA-SCP framework. Earlier this year, Euroclear, DTCC, Clearstream, and BCG released Building the Digital Asset Securities Ecosystem, introducing the DA-SCP framework, a comprehensive risk and control framework to foster alignment for digital asset securities. With Catalyst, we aim to empower the digital asset securities, or DAS, ecosystem by streamlining innovation, implementation, and scaling adoption of the DA-SCP framework. Then if we come over here to the Intellect EU's website where they talk about this, it says, Catalyst Blockchain Manager simplifies the adoption of the DA-SCP framework, delivering scalable, secure, and resilient solutions. Its modular infrastructure and advanced event monitoring ensure compliance with industry standards, enabling organizations to unlock the potential of digital asset securities and build a resilient, efficient ecosystem. In May, Euroclear, DTCC, and Clearstream released Building the Digital Asset Securities Ecosystem, demonstrating a strong commitment to fostering alignment among financial institutions on digital asset securities. We are pleased to see this publication prominently featured in the discussion at industry events this year, culminating in a compelling roundtable at Sibos back in October. A key challenge for financial institutions adopting digital asset securities is the lack of a formal framework. While the Digital Asset Securities Control Principle, or DASCP framework, is not a fixed rulebook, it does establish a foundation for a comprehensive industry standard. Guidelines for the development on governance and DLT-based securities will enable the industry to bridge the gap between the present-day reality and potential of digital asset securities as a driver of efficiency, security, and untapped value. Various risk prevention and mitigation controls within the DASCP framework have been the preoccupation of early adopters of digital assets for some time. Catalyst Blockchain Manager was designed for DLT-based solution enablement, serving many of these now better defined needs. As an infrastructure management solution, Catalyst provides accelerated deployment, streamlined blockchain application management, and full enterprise readiness, enabling organizations to focus on creating business value with distributed ledger technologies. We believe that Catalyst can play an important role in enabling a digital asset security ecosystem by streamlining innovation, implementation, and scaling adoption of the DA SCP framework. And what's going to blow your mind is if you come over here and you look at the Catalyst blockchain manager, look at the blockchains and the protocols that they support. It says it right here. Fabric, Corda, Canton, Besu, Stellar, so Stellar's on the list, and Package Manager. There's no XRPL here, okay? If you come over here to when this took place, this is the Digital Asset Securities Control Principles, or the DA SCP from Euroclear, directly from their website, and it says, we have collaborated with the DTCC and Clearstream with the support of Boston Consulting Group to lay out a blueprint for establishing an industry-wide digital asset ecosystem to drive acceptance of tokenized assets in a white paper titled Building the Digital Asset Ecosystem. And mind you, again, this is back from 2024. Now, if we come over here to the document itself, it specifically reads right here. It says, the primary objective of this white paper is to catalyze comprehensive understandings, foster collaboration, and spearhead further advancement within the digital asset ecosystem. The DA SCP will serve as a baseline to help propel the industry towards standards. The move is designed to position the association to actively engage with the broader ecosystem. This involvement is crucial for the DSAP to serve not just as a set of guidelines, but as a dynamic catalyst that drives the conversation forward. The scope of this paper encompasses digital asset securities, subsequently referred to as DASs, as defined by GFMA. Specifically, it includes securities, the utilization of DLT to represent or embody rights that utilize DLT, similar to those of traditional securities, whether they're issued directly on a blockchain, security tokens, or digital representations, i.e. digital twins of existing securities, all forms of equity debt derivatives. Now, if we come over here to more recent times, what just recently was announced. Now, if we come to more recent announcements, considering that was back in 2024, fast forward to December 2025, what did the DTCC announce for the first time ever? The DTCC and digital asset partner to tokenize DTC custody U.S. Treasury securities on the Canton network. With this partnership, the DTCC plans for the first time, I highlighted that in blue, again, for the first time, to enable a subset of U.S. Treasury securities custodied at the DTC to be minted on the Canton network. The organizations are working towards an MVP in a controlled production environment during the first half of 2026, with plans to increase the size and scope of the projects in months that follow based upon client interest. The DTCC's participation and partnership with Digital Asset and the Canton network is a strategic step forward as we collaborate across the industry to build a digital infrastructure that seamlessly bridges the traditional and digital financial ecosystem and provides unmatched scalability and safety, said Frank Lasla, CEO of DTCC. This collaboration creates a roadmap to bring real-world high-value tokenization use cases to market, starting with U.S. Treasury securities, and eventually expanding to a broad spectrum of DTC-eligible assets across network providers. While the full DTCC digital asset and Canton network partnership roadmap is anticipated to unfold over multiple years, so this is not some overnight thing, the first phase aims to deliver tangible benefits to market participants by providing access to digitized financial instruments in a secure and regulated environment. This phased approach helps ensure flexibility and adaptability, allowing participants to adopt decentralized technologies while meeting regulatory requirements. Now, check this out. Our goal is to enable the industry and DTC partnerships to take advantage of tokenization capabilities that enhance liquidity, operational efficiency, and market transparency. We welcome the opportunity to partner with the digital asset and Canton network to bring the first production environment activity live, stated Brian Steele, Managing Director, President, Clearing and Securities at DTCC. This effort builds upon the DTCC's prior collateral mobility experiment. So this is literally going off of something that the DTCC already did. And if we go back to, here you see 5 months ago, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, the Great Collateral Experiment wasn't just a demonstration. It was a strategic preview of what is next. They literally told us this 5 months in advance. Okay. They told us this 5 months in advance. We come over here, we listen to Dan Donnie real quick.
As well as the technical components that went into the Great Collateral Experiment. Folks should realize this was real. This was not a made up it was real technologies operating in real time on a made up scenario and not with real value. You should also note that DTCC is keen to bring these technologies to production. There's a substantial road given our responsibility.
DTCC is very keen to bring these things into production. And this is from 5 months ago. Now we fast forward to 2025 in December. Who did they choose to do this with? Canton Network. And it mentions directly in the statement that this is happening for the first time. It says it right here, multiple times. The first time. Right here and right here, just to solidify it. Now we come over here and you plug this article directly into ChatGPT and you ask it the question, in regards to the 2025 December report, does it mention it the first time? Wouldn't that imply that the DTCC is doing this for the first time on Canton? So any speculation that this has happened on Ripple's technology like the XRPL would actually be incorrect. ChatGPT's response to that said, yes, explicitly. The key sentence is, the DTCC plans for the first time to enable a subset of U.S. Treasury securities and custodied at the DTC to be minted on the Canton network. What for the first time legally and operationally implies? In regulated market language, for the first time means exactly that. No prior production tokenization of DTC custodial assets, no previous live minting of these assets on any other blockchain, no prior settlement, custody, or issuance of these assets on XRPL, Ethereum, or any other distributed ledger technology. If the DTCC had already tokenized custody treasuries elsewhere, they could not say for the first time. They would instead say expanding, continuing, or building upon prior initiatives. They didn't. Anyone claiming that the DTCC already did this on any other technology, including Ripple and the XRPL, is factually incorrect based on the DTCC's own words. Here's why. The DTCC names the network. They explicitly say Canton Network. No ambiguity, no hedging language. The DTCC states for the first time minting, not first time on Canton, first time period for the DTCC custody treasuries. Regulatory constraints. The DTCC operates under SEC oversight. Misstating for the first time would actually be a material disclosure violation. They are extremely careful with the language for this exact reason. This does not mean Ripple has no relationship with the DTCC, as I mentioned. This does not mean XRPL has no role in capital markets, as I mentioned, that in the future they could. And this does not mean that the DTCC won't ever use other networks, which again, I reiterated that they could. But what this does mean is that this specific initiative, this specific asset class, and this specific minting activity is happening for the first time ever on Canton Network. Anything else is a narrative, extrapolation, not evidence. So huge confirmation again, starting all the way back from showing you guys that the organization that planned to empower, says it right here, with Catalyst, we aim to empower the digital asset ecosystem by streamlining innovation and implementation and scaling adoption of the DASCP framework, literally allowed for a handful of different protocols to be utilized for this. And it says it right here, the supported protocols are Canton, Besu, Stellar, Corda, Fabric, right? The devil's in the details here, guys and gals. As we continue down the rabbit hole, we come over here, and I want you guys to directly listen to an individual representative from Intellect EU go on to talk about the Catalyst blockchain manager?
Start building on it or joining the network. From your experience, what are the biggest challenges the institutions face when they are evaluating the Canton, and how they can be solved, for example, with the help of Catalyst Blockchain Manager?
Yeah, sure. So here it's broader answer for traditional institutions, and honestly, even for crypto natives and those who've been in the sphere and enthusiastic about blockchain for years. Canton is still challenging in terms of technical side, evaluating technical side, getting familiar with how the protocol is built, getting relevant expertise in-house, and actually start being that familiar with that system, the ecosystem that you can actually trust and bet on the fact that you will have your nodes up and running with the most uptime possible. So in practice, that means having a strong engineering, DevOps team, security team. They should be capable to operate on Canton while meeting regulatory, security, and operational requirements, especially when this comes to not just simply the node as a service operation level, but more to the application build level. And when building the real applications and real use cases come into place, that should be a real strong setup. So like that, you can try to do that all by yourself, or you can just use Catalyst Blockchain Manager and Intellect2U team, which is the Catalyst Blockchain Manager is the software really created for the only purpose to ease the process of operating the blockchain infrastructure. And Intellect2U has been with the Canton and together with Canton from the very early bird and very beginning. So instead of setting everything up internally, institutions, companies, financial institutions, banks can really rely on a team with extensive experience that has been working with Canton for years, not even for months, for years. And Catalyst provides a managed production-ready environment with a strong focus on especially stability, security, and uptime, everything that any institution that builds in Canton and that wants to bring value on Canton will really value. The goal and our goal is and will always be is to allow institutions to build and participate in Canton while the infrastructure side is handled in a secure and reliable way.
Impressive. Another question I have is I saw a lot of tweets and LinkedIn posts of people comparing the Canton network to other chains like Ripple. What do you think people misunderstand about the Canton network right now? Like, why do this all of these comparisons and discussions pop up?
Well, as you said, people always compare to the other existing and probably more popular or longer into space chains and protocols. But the very popular misunderstanding here is that people still may look in the Canton through the lens of traditional distributed ledger technologies and assume it's working the same way. In reality, as I already mentioned, Canton was designed specifically for financial markets where privacy, compliance, coordination, security between all the multiple parties engaged really matters. Canton was always focused on the real-life adoption, not just purely participating and receiving, for example, rewards, though it was once a stage, not anymore. So again, continuing on that, the incentive model for the starters is different. It's not focused on Canton anymore on rewarding the infrastructure operators, but on encouraging the real life use cases and encouraging the real build. Building applications, transacting, creating actual activity on the network is something that is extremely valuable and is something that if you are ready to do that, if you're ready and you have your real life use case, Canton is your space to make it happen. That makes Canton really more value-oriented and aligned with how financial institutions think about utilities, practicalities, rather than just betting on receiving rewards for having your node live up and running.
So you all had that lady talk about getting their node operations up and running. You had Sandy Call from Franklin Templeton talking about running node operations, and that Catalyst blockchain manager allows for what two protocols? Stellar and Canton. And what two blockchains did Franklin Templeton choose recently? November 12th, 2025, Canton and in previous announcements, Stellar from back in 2023. Then you come over here to what Sandy Call recently just said, as that lady mentioned, earning rewards through node operations, and listen to what Sandy Call here says.
In a wallet, a cryptographically protected wallet where all of our assets are going to be aggregated. And this is why they need to be tokenized, right? So that they can sit in the wallet and we can start to optimize and have that aggregation, not just an aggregated view, which is all we're capable of doing today, even with all the technology that exists. We just aggregate the view across all of our different accounts. We're going to actually have real aggregation, and these assets will sit side by side and be interoperable. And this opens up tremendous new opportunities for how to use those assets, how to create passive income from those assets, how to create active income from those assets.
So she just talked about generating passive income with your assets. She previously talked about node operations, and you've seen the protocols that Catalyst allows for node operations with. It all pieces itself together.
Now, if we come back over here to the catalystintellecteu.com website, the next piece that I want you guys to focus on in the press room here is it goes on to say, we are excited about the conclusion from the Regulated Settlement Network, or RSN, proof of concept, in which the Intellect EU was a proud partner with Digital Asset, i.e. the builders of Canton Network, as the development partner and infrastructure provider via our Catalyst blockchain manager. So there again goes that Catalyst blockchain manager, which we know supports Stellar and Corda and Canton. This proof of concept explored how simultaneous 24/7 settlement for multi-asset and cross-network transactions can be achieved, incorporating tokenized central and commercial bank deposits, the U.S. Treasury securities, and other regulated assets. Now, if we come over here directly to the document from this RSN proof of concept, this is from December 5th, 2024. Let's take a really deep dive into this and really, again, question some things that are surfacing on the internet in regards to partnerships and what banks and institutions are doing behind the scenes. This silences it all because it tells you in detail. So the RSN aimed to promote interoperability across different tokenized financial networks with the goal of enabling seamless and efficient processing and settlement capabilities. Interoperability was a key element of the proof of concept, enabling the RSN to connect with other regulated third-party networks, ensuring that the process network transactions can achieve legal finality of settlement. This capability may enhance the efficiency of cross-network transactions and also support the settlement of securities, bonds, and other regulated assets across diverse networks and tokenized central bank deposits. As we continue to go on here and read, participants in the RSN proof of concept, look at this list of names. Citi, US Bank, JP Morgan, USDF, MasterCard, Visa, Swift, Wells Fargo, TDB Bank, Zions Bank Corp. Project contributors, right here it says BNY Mellon, Broadridge, DTCC, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, the Mitra Corporation, Tacit Group, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Securities and Industry Financial Markets Association, or SIFMA. The advisors were Deloitte, InTouch, LLP, and then the technology providers were Digital Asset. That's it. None other. Just Digital Asset. Right? Again, that's Canton Network right there. Here it goes on to talk about all the use cases that the RSN working group tested. As we continue, it said, the result may provide the financial service industry with a common settlement infrastructure that is always on programmable and offers precise settlement capabilities to allow institutions to realize enhanced collateral and liquidity optimization. Remember this because we're going to come back to it. The proof of concept showed integration of multiple networks, enabling synchronized settlement across diverse platforms by leveraging interoperability solutions such as the Swift interlinking prototype and direct API integrations to the RSN, demonstrated its capability to connect with other DLT solutions and construct complex use cases involving the RSN as a settlement venue. It is likely an operational RSN could be designed under existing legal frameworks. The legal analysis did not identify any issues that would prevent the creation of the RSN as contemplated within the proof of concept. So again, remember, Digital Asset was the technology provider for this. So that therefore means that digital asset and the Canton network have regulatory clarity under existing legal frameworks, which is huge. That highlight right there is absolutely huge. As we continue to scroll down and we read more thoroughly through this, it says, should these characteristics be maintained, the result might provide a public-private sovereign currency banking infrastructure for multi-asset and cross-network transactions. In addition to the tokenization of different forms of money, the RSN proof of concept also experimented with the tokenization of securities. Tokenized securities with the RSN FMI are assumed to have the same ownership rights as they do today. Theoretically, tokenized securities can potentially provide enhanced operational efficiency and automate more complex transaction logic via smart contracts. In the RSN proof of concept, the working group tested DVP use cases that include various securities, IG bonds, and US Treasuries. And remember, what was announced, remember this RSN took place over a year ago. And if we come back to now more recent times, who did the DTCC continue to follow through and choose to do US Treasury securities on? Right? Canton network. So this is proof that the proof of concept is now materializing into real live production. Okay. As we continue, it gets even deeper. So we come down here and it mentions the use case introduction, but this is where it gets very interesting because it says the use case also engaged with Broadridge and its distributed ledger repo platform to test how two RSN members that are also Broadridge DLR members use the DLR to initiate a 3-hour intraday repo to better optimize its tokenized collateral on RSN and be able to provide intraday funding to the settlement same-day trade obligations. This use case intended to show how the RSN's common settlement infrastructure, which contains various forms of tokenized collateral, could allow firms to seamlessly access and deploy its collateral and provide real-time liquidity through an intraday repo transaction initiated on Broadridge DLR. Now, so this RSN runs on digital assets technology, i.e. Canton network, and Broadridge's distributed ledger repo platform that was also tested in this proof of concept also runs on freaking Canton, y'all. Don't take that from me. This is posted January 15th, 2026, only has 135 views. And this is an individual representative from Broadridge himself. This is Soto Sanchez. He is the chief product officer at Broadridge. Listen to what he says here directly from him.
We're also very much focused on sort of solutions that sort of help to sort of redefine existing workflows, but for a digital asset future, right? So what's the workflow for a wealth manager or an asset manager or a broker dealer, right, on the digital asset side, right? Because the workflows are going to change. It's very different. And so like, how do you support those workflows? I think that's extremely important as well. And then sort of another aspect that we're very much focused on is this interoperability aspect that I mentioned beforehand as well, right? So we're members of the Canton network, which is a public permission network. And so our distributed ledger repo solution runs on the Canton network. And so we do believe that interoperability, especially something like Canton, which is sort of purpose-built for financial services, right, to deliver the security, the privacy sort of that we all require, is the kind of solution that we're going to start to see sort of across the marketplace to just facilitate that, get folks on that common network as well.
Now, I want you guys to focus on the vocabulary he just used. He said, our goal is to get people on this common network.
Especially something like Canton, which is sort of purpose-built for financial services, right, to deliver the security, the privacy sort of that we all require, is the kind of solution that we're going to start to see sort of across the marketplace to just facilitate that, get folks on that common network.
And he specifically mentioned how their DLT platform runs on the Canton network, on that common network. This is going to absolutely blow your mind. Elon Trades over here on X, shout out to Elon Trades. This is how I'm going to wrap it up for today. Said, why Larry Fink's once common blockchain commitment at Davos is almost certainly about Canton Network. And you just heard the gentleman from Broadridge talk about Canton Network and mention our goal is to get people over onto this common network, right? You cannot make this up. Here's what Larry Fink said at Davos most recently.
Tokenization and digitization of their currency. That's Brazil and India. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth. We have one common blockchain.
Especially something like Canton, which is sort of purpose-built for financial services, right, to deliver the security, the privacy sort of that we all require, is the kind of solution that we're going to start to see sort of across the marketplace to just facilitate that, get folks on that common network.
To equities and bonds and back and forth. We have one common blockchain.
We have one common blockchain. If we come back over to this freaking document, y'all remember the RSN, okay? December 5th, 2024. We already know SWIFT, DTCC, BNY, JP Morgan, Citi, all the big bank, Visa, Wells Fargo. Come on now, y'all. ISDA, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association. Who was the technology provider for this? Digital Asset. Remember, we go back over to Catalyst. Okay, don't forget, we started here. Catalyst mentioned that same thing. They are excited about the conclusion from the regulated settlement RSN proof of concept in which Intellect EU was a proud partner with Digital Asset as the development partner and infrastructure provider via our Catalyst blockchain manager. And we already showed the Catalyst blockchain manager provides support for Canton, Besu, Stellar, Corda, and we know that they chose Canton. Okay. Y'all, you cannot make this stuff up. We come back over here to the RSN document, and what does it say? Look at this. If you type in common as a keyword here, it mentions it 33 different times. The hypothesis of the RSN is that combining the beneficial capabilities of a shared ledger technology with the positive attributes of the existing regulated financial services industry could lead to the creation of a common industry settlement solution, i.e. a common blockchain that serves the evolving demand of the financial services industry. Okay, this is huge. Says, should the above feasible, the RSN could provide an always-on interoperable and programmable industry-wide settlement infrastructure that could alleviate a number of existing risks and collateral and challenges faced today. And remember, this is the same document that mentions Broadridge's DLT platform and how the RSN utilized that as well in this proof of concept. I've now shown you guys how Digital Asset was the technology provider for this RSN proof of concept, i.e. the common blockchain proof of concept, right? It even says here, the result may provide the financial services industry with a common settlement infrastructure that is always on, programmable, and offers precise settlement capabilities to allow financial institutions to realize enhanced collateral and liquidity optimization. Broadridge is already utilizing Canton Network for their underlying DLT platform, their underlying DLT repo platform, which I also showed you guys. And the dude from freaking Broadridge specifically mentioned Canton and how their goal is to bring everybody over to this common platform. So back to this guy's post to wrap it up. You are hitting it right on the head, Elon Trades. Now, I don't know if you know all the information that I just shared with you, but check this out. Reading thoroughly through this, it says, at the World Economic Forum in Davos on January 21st, 2026, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink made a striking statement about tokenization. We must move more rapidly with crypto tokenization on a single common blockchain. While crypto Twitter immediately speculated about Ethereum or Chainlink, the evidence strongly points to Canton Network. Larry Fink said one common blockchain, not multiple blockchains with bridges. And it goes on to talk about all this stuff. I'm not here to debate all this. I'm just here to show you guys that this was 110% Canton Network that he was talking about. The DTCC's Canton selection and the smoking gun. On December 17, 2025, DTCC announced selected Canton Network for tokenization of U.S. securities and treasuries. Why one common blockchain points to Canton? When Fink says we have more dependencies on maybe one blockchain, he's likely hinting at Canton without naming it explicitly. Consider, ETH and Link play roles, but for their institutional settlement of trillions in traditional securities, Canton is the only blockchain designed from the ground up for that specific use case. Every other blockchain forces institutions to choose between privacy or interoperability. Canton is the only infrastructure where Wall Street is building critical financial plumbing at scale. The DTCC partnership validates it as the settlement layer for tokenized treasuries. The bottom line is that if the DTCC Treasury tokenization goes to production in H1 2026, and Canton is the only chain they're using, which I already showed you guys in their own documents, they said that themselves, this is happening for the first time on Canton, no other blockchain for now, right? This is massive. And this 100% proves that what Larry Fink was saying in this video coexists with what this gentleman here from Broadridge was saying about how their goal is to bring everybody over to this common settlement platform. And he mentioned that's the DLT platform that they've built out that is on the Canton network. This is a huge video breakdown and just goes to show why I started doing deep research on Canton. Now, again, none of this is financial advice, and I'm not here to say that Canton is better than any other chain out there. I'm well diversified in this space. I have multiple different digital assets in my portfolio, and I believe the longevity of multiple different networks and chains in the future. But we need to come to reality with what things we speculate on by focusing on the documents. And the documents specifically state that the DTCC is choosing Canton network for now, not Ripple, not XRPL, not any other speculative chain. For now, it's Canton. So I lay my case to rest. Why I even started doing this deep research and digging into things deeper on the infrastructure side of things. As always, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video deep dive. None of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and buy Canton or buy XRP or what else did we talk about? Ethereum or Link. Always do your own personal research. With that being said, that's all that I have for today's video breakdown.
Yo, bro, you there?
I'm here, bro, but I'm not in my computer, but what's good?
What's good? Yo, this is man. I am extremely bullish on Canton Network, and I wanted to ask you because I reposted a post of David Schwartz, and it's a snippet that we've both used in our videos in the past, and it's David Schwartz speaking about how it's a pain in their side that they can't use the XRPL. But that same snippet, I came across it again, and he said something that kind of hit home with this new profound knowledge of Canton Network. Did you see it yesterday by chance? I reposted it. Not too many people seen it, but I can share it right now if you don't mind. Wait, what'd you say, bro?
Can you play both clips?
Yeah. Give me a second. Yep. Give me a second. Let me share my screen here. Let me find the post here. And yeah, hold on. I'm going to share my screen right now here. And what's crazy too is when I reposted it, you have some comments on this video that are like giving their opinion, and their opinion just doesn't align with what David Schwartz is saying. It's almost like comments coming from denial. But I mean, I'll let everyone be the judge of that. But let me share my screen here.
Yeah, it would be totally weird to listen to the actual core developer of the XRPL on what he says, right?
Yeah, right. And then have like your opinion on top of it.
No, David Schwartz, bro. You're totally wrong about what you say.
Yeah. All right. So right now, at the very beginning of this video, he's gonna say that snippet that we both have shared and have talked about. But right afterwards, really listen to what he says right now. All right, tap in.
It's going to be very significant.
Actually, hold on. I think I need to take off my headset. Hold on. Yeah, I need to take off my headset. Hold on. You guys might hear a vacuum in the background, but hold on. Let's see here.
A thorn in my side and a thorn in the side of Ripple. It's going to be very significant.
I don't know if you're playing the video, bro, but it's paused.
A thorn in my side and a thorn in... It's going to be very significant. A thorn in my side and a thorn in the side of Ripple for a long time has been the fact that we can't use the XRP Ledger DEX for our own payments products. Like this I want to rip my hair out. So it's obvious that we would do that. And it's frustrating that endlessly frustrating that we can't. And the primary obstacle is that Ripple is a regulated institution.
Right.
And if our trade like passes through a terrorist or somebody who's sanctioned by the United States, it doesn't matter whether we knew or could have known, or basically if there's a chance that can happen, we just can't do it.
Right.
And so we have not been able to use the DEX. And it's just, And so permission domains will enable a domain in which you have to prove you're not a terrorist to get into that domain. And so that will mean that like lots of ordinary people, I made the joke at my other presentation, I said, all of us could get into that. Probably not that guy in the second row. Yeah, that joke killed earlier. But I mean, the idea is that these will not be just institutions to institutions. Why put that on the XRP ledger, right? That should be on a private ledger. Probably not that guy in the second row. Yeah, that joke killed earlier. But I mean, the idea is that these will not be just institutions to institutions. Why put that on the XRP ledger, right? That should be on a private ledger. But the idea is that ordinary.
Yeah, bro, I see exactly what you're saying. Like David Schwartz himself just said that they can't use the XRPL DEX and that these institutions are going to want to utilize a private ledger.
With why would that even be on the XRP ledger? Not to mention the first 28 seconds of what he was talking about is also eyebrow raising, like we've been saying. Ripple cannot use the XRPL, and it's a thorn in their side. And then on top of that, institution to institution should not be on the XRP ledger. It should be on a private ledger. I mean, I feel like he's telling us right on stage. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, that's why I think diversification in this new era of finance is key. And I think that a lot of people need to accept that we could have been wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's like, it doesn't mean that the transformation of finance isn't happening, but it just might not be happening on certain blockchains. And it's okay. You just have to migrate with the changing tides, diversify. I hold both just in case. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I can assume based off the research that exactly what David Schwartz just said and exactly what Canton is building and exactly what that guy from Yellow Card said at the beginning. I don't know if you saw that part, but the guy from Yellow Card, who is backed by Visa, backed by Western Union, backed by PayPal, has over 106 tier 1 banking partners, said that the only blockchain network that has given the confidence for these traditional financial institutions to move on chain so far has been Canton.
Yeah. In that alone, we have not heard anybody else except for Canton at this point. So, I mean,
maybe in the future that changes. I'm not opposed to that, but it's just more so right now, what's being said is exactly what we're relaying. This, and honest to God, none of this stuff is my opinion. I'm just sharing information that is available to everybody on this call. It's not like I'm just making this shit up out of my ass to start. Oh, you should go buy Canton. No, fuck that. Don't buy it.
Yeah, facts.
Bet against me. Matter of fact, bet against me and don't buy any Canton.
Yeah. Nah, that's real.
And I'll be on these podcasts with Aqua in 2030 and we'll revisit.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, bro. And you said something very powerful on the Zoom call yesterday. Who's going to survive in this space are the ones that are diversified researchers. If you're just solely looking at one project and your heart and soul is committed to that one project and you're the biggest fan of that project, you might get eaten up. You might get chewed up and spit out, honestly. That's just my opinion. But, like we've heard it before, there's going to be more than one winner as well.
Because what if that one project you choose that you based your whole entire portfolio on gets not chosen?
Exactly. It's almost like some of the degenerates that are going all in on leverage and shit and don't even realize what they're doing, but they're just like betting on that one project or whatever and don't understand anything else. I feel like that's that same type of mindset, but just on steroids. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be beneficial to everybody who's listening to always keep an open mind and be an active, open-minded researcher and not just close your mind off to one project. I mean, and we see this in other areas of our life. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing here in crypto.
Yeah, big facts, bro. All right, well, that's all that I have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys so much for tapping in with us this Friday. Outside of that, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next week. Aqua, take it easy, bro.
Yep. Much love. Peace.